Good morning, everyone. So, it's about an hour before my race, and I take my last big swigs of electrolyte-filled water. Now, I have to be strategic with this timing because I really don't want to have to go to the bathroom once I get into the car. And I take the next 30 or 40 minutes to do any last-minute visualization. I talk with my team, and I take some quiet time. And then, with about 5 or 10 minutes to go, I sprint to the bathroom, and then I sprint to my car, and I wiggle in through the window and strap my seatbelts, and one of my crew members then secures my window net and leaves me with a fist bump. These are my final moments of peace before 650 horsepower catapults me around a racetrack. I hear the announcer say,
"Drivers, start your engines."
And I flip on my race car, put my visor down. It's time to go racing. I love racing, yet it doesn't matter that I've been doing it for 17 years, have 2 championships, and dozens of wins. I still get scared before every race. And we all get scared from time to time, but it's those of us who welcome the fear and work with that fear who have a leg up when going after our goals. And I didn't really start thinking about fear until my 2016 season, when my teammate and I went to an elementary school in San Bernardino, California, where we were speaking with kindergarten through 2nd graders, which is a very challenging audience. But this one was game-changing for me, because the last question we got was from this little girl, and she asked, "Don't you get scared?" And I took the microphone first, and I gave the answer that I had typically given to that point, which was something to the effect of, no. You know, I can't let myself get scared because then I won't race the car as fast as I have to win the race. And then I stepped to the side, and my teammate got up, and he said, "Well, I guess I'm a little different than Julia because I do get scared." And I tuned out the rest of what he said because I realized in that moment that I had lied to every person who had ever asked me that question. Of course I get scared. Racing is a scary sport. It's scary to go 174 miles an hour and have to slow down to 20 for a corner. It's scary to muscle around 3,400 pounds of machine within inches of a concrete wall. And crashing obviously happens. So yes, I do get scared. But that little girl woke me from the illusion that I didn't. And so I wanted to figure out why I had had this misconception about my relationship with fear. So I went home after that race weekend and I started doing some research. And I had my aha moment. From a biological standpoint, fear is closely related to excitement. So I realized that I must have been converting my negative fear energy into positive, motivated, and therefore helpful energy. That, plus the thrill of racing and my desire to be a phenomenal race car driver, far outweighed any of the fears I had along the way. Now, I believe that shared experiences bring us closer together, so I'd like to ask for some audience participation here, so just shout out your answer. But what do you think is one of the most common questions I get? Oh, come on, someone. I heard it. That was a good one too, but the question is, have you ever crashed? And people's eyes light up when they ask this question because I think secretly they kind of want the answer to be yes. It's like their curiosity is this guilty excitement about learning about what it's like to slam into a wall really hard. And I, like most racers, have crashed more than once. And my first crash, which was quite scary, was when I was 14 years old. And we were racing at Le Circuit Mont-Tremblant in Canada. And the instructors had made the very explicit point that if you go off the track, 2 wheels, 4 wheels, it didn't matter, at turn 7, that you should stay in the grass and not try to get back on the racetrack until halfway down the straightaway because it would be a smoother transition. So what do? when I drop 2 wheels off the track at turn 7. I immediately try to get back on the track, bounce over the curb, slide over the asphalt, slide through the grass, head on into a wall. This was miserable for a lot of reasons, including the announcer must have seen my dad stomping off in a bit of a huff and made the very public announcement that
nobody wants to be Julia today.
But there was one silver lining, and that was that I learned that I could hit a wall head on and walk away from it. Obviously not desirable, but up until that point, my fear of crashing was largely because I hadn't ever done it at those speeds before. So by experiencing it, I was able to see, okay, it's not great, but I will likely be able to walk away. The next fear of mine that I'd like to share with you are my pre-race nerves, because I get nervous before every race. I do get scared, right? And I get these knots in my stomach because there's a lot on the line. A lot of people, myself included, have spent time, energy, and money to get me to that track. And there's a lot that's in my control, but there's a lot that's not in my control, and that's pretty scary. So when I was 14, very formative year for me, I realized I was a little late getting to my car for the start of the race. And if I was going to make it, I was going to have to sprint to the bathroom and then sprint to the car. So I did that, and then I realized when I got to my car, I actually felt a little lighter. I felt better. I was still nervous, but the energy and the exertion from running actually made me feel better and give me endorphins to make me just excited for the race, not that negative energy. So now, before every race, I sprint to the bathroom and I sprint to my car. Likewise, when I have a call, like a business call that I'm really nervous for, sometimes I'll drop and do push-ups, again, just to get that physical exertion. And the last fear that I want to share with you is probably one that's going to be a little more relatable, and that's a fear of failure. As someone who wants to be a NASCAR Cup Series driver, which is the top level of NASCAR, I'm one of tens of thousands of drivers who wants to do something that only 40 people in the world are able to do at any given time. And that's terrifying. The odds are not in my favor, right? And sometimes I'll feel like this big, lofty goal I set for myself is too daunting and overwhelming, and I start to question, is it going to work? And when that happens, I make sure to break down what I have to do into daily steps. What can I do day in and day out that'll help me get closer to my goal? And this does a few things. One, it makes the task more digestible and concrete. But it also gives me the ability to give myself little victories, which then make me feel that momentum that I can ride even when it gets difficult. So these are my fears. We all have fears, and those fears manifest themselves in different ways in different people. But what can we do to help use fear and not let it paralyze us? We will all find that we come to a crossroads in life, or several times in life, where we have to decide, are we going to do the thing that scares us, or are we going to walk away? And when you get to that crossroads, I highly encourage that you ask yourself the question, why not? Why not do the thing that scares you? And this is going to require some self-awareness, right? You're going to need to know your values and your morals and the general tenets that you live by. But if you do, and you're not able to give yourself that good enough answer not to do something, you owe it to yourself to try. And there will undoubtedly be times when the risk associated with doing something scary far outweighs any potential benefit. But that's not a lot of the time. And so we have to take the responsibility to give ourselves that mental push that we might need. So this is great. We've decided we're going to do the thing that scares us. We're going to be bold and brave. But that doesn't mean the fear's gone away, right? Like, it's still a scary thing to do. So what I'd like to do now is share 3 coping mechanisms with you that I use in my day-to-day life that I hope will be beneficial to you. The first coping mechanism is deep diaphragm breathing, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's where you breathe in deeply through your chest, but instead of breathing up through your chest, you breathe out through your belly. So I'm going to want you to do this with me. We're going to go through 2 cycles of breathing in very slowly through our noses and slowly out through our mouths. You ready? Okay. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. This type of breathing optimizes the amount of oxygen that gets into the bloodstream, which is the big de-stressor. So if you're nervous, scared, if you're nauseous, or if you can't sleep at night, this might be a really helpful tool for bringing your nervous system back to center and helping you to tackle whatever you have to. The second coping mechanism is visualization. And I had mentioned that the first time I crashed, I was nervous about it because I hadn't ever done it before. There was this unknown factor. And so by visualizing, we're able to prepare ourselves better for situations that might not be familiar. And there's a study out of the University of Chicago in the late 1990s where researchers looked at basketball players who were making free throw shots. And they found that the basketball players who visualized making free throw shots every day for 30 days in a row improved their actual shot almost as much as the players who physically made those shots every day for 30 days in a row. That's incredible. Our minds are so powerful. And I had my own experience with this when I was in college and racing, and I was only racing during the summers, and I'll be honest, I was going through a bit of a slump, and I hadn't won in a little while. And I realized I didn't see myself as a winner. I couldn't picture being in victory lane. So I did just that. Before going to sleep every night, I visualized having to make a dramatic last lap pass for the win, or having to hold people off so they didn't pass me, and then crossing the line first, and then being in victory lane, which is so exciting. And then later that summer, I started winning again. Our minds are so powerful that we really need to make sure we're actively using them and not letting them get in the way. And the last coping mechanism that I'd like to share with you is simply to practice. Practice scary stuff. Practice having that conversation about wanting a raise. Practice a presentation many, many, many times before you give it. And practice pushing yourself out of your physical comfort zone so you get used to that. Because by normalizing challenging and scary situations, we greatly increase our ability to tackle them with conviction in real life. And after all, it's up to us to own the fear. Thank you.